Game 1 of the 2018 Finals still feels unreal. LeBron put up one of the greatest performances we've ever seen on the court, and he did it against a team everyone swore couldn't be touched. The night should have been a masterpiece. But instead, it turned into a moment everyone remembers for one of the worst mistakes at the worst possible time. And today I've got Connor from Hero Ball Media with me to break down how a legendary game slipped through Cleveland's fingers while LeBron looked like he was carrying a planet on his back, and what really went through the heads when JR took off in the wrong direction. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow on each and every last one of the socials at Pearce TV, but most importantly, please enjoy this week's episode of
I'm gonna get some hate right off the bat. You know, I'm not really a Cavs fan, right? I'm a LeBron fan. So LeBron before everything else. When I fell in love with sports, when I fell in love with the game of basketball, I fell in love with number 23 on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was about 2008. Dude, just watching him play basketball, like I had my first rec game the next day. And then when they laid out the jerseys, I was on the blue team. I grabbed number 23. And it's been a lifelong obsession with the guy. You know, when I was 9 years old at the time, I was hoping at some point in the next 20 years, I would develop some other hobbies and interests. But unfortunately, we're still sitting here and I haven't. But watching LeBron James play basketball for whatever team, that'll always be my favorite sports team. And you could say whatever you want about it. I don't really care. Wherever he at, you know what I'm saying?
9 to 10 years later, LeBron found himself back in Cleveland, ready to pursue another championship against arguably his biggest obstacle to success to date.
To tell the tale of the 2018 Cleveland Cavaliers, it all goes back to 2016, right? So the 3-1 comeback, probably my greatest moment as a sports fan, but that is not the question that we are tackling today, right? So under a month after the 3-1 comeback, I was at lunch in Rhode Island with some family on the 4th of July, and I remember getting this text and seeing the Players Tribune of Kevin Durant that he had just signed with the Warriors. We all thought we were on the precipice of maybe a dynasty of going back-to-back. We just tackled the greatest team of all time. And then they add a top 3 player in the sport, an MVP, a scoring champ, an all-everything type of guy. So we go into 2017, you think, you know, as a completely biased fan, you know, kind of a delusional fan, I thought they had a chance in 2017. We were running it back with the same guys, still had Kyrie, Kevin Love, you know, still knew how to play basketball at the time. And again, I thought that they could get it done, and they don't, right? They get 4-1. That game 3, I remember game 3 too, dude. That was not a good game when Kevin Durant hit the silencer. And then again, they think they won the next game. So whatever, they lose in 5, and then we lose Kyrie. The Cavs blow it all up. I'm blanking. George Hill came over at the midway point, which I'm sure we're going to get into that guy here pretty soon. But they completely changed the roster midway through the season, and they still make the finals. But some people will still find a way to hate on it. We've never seen anything like that. We've never seen a team get completely restructured in the middle of the season and still make it to the finals. It's unbelievable. It was LeBron, K-Love, and you and I think was we were rounding out the front court, dude. It was not a good team. It was not a good team. Probably his greatest accomplishment is getting that team to the finals. It's unbelievable looking back on it.
And that was before we get to the absolutely insane run that LeBron went on.
2018 Bron has kind of become this, you know, it's taken on a life of its own, right? 2018, I mean, he was quite literally unstoppable. I remember watching the first round versus the Pacers. And again, I'm delusional, but like we were going blow for blow with Oladipo and like, you know, not an amazing Pacers team, right? So I was getting a little bit nervous because, you know, as a fan, you're like, we're on a crash course to face the Warriors in the finals. But I remember during that Pacers series, I was like, you know, maybe not so much. Like, this is not looking great right now. I'll never forget that 3-ball, that block against Oladipo, not a goaltend.
Cut that out. That's not a goaltend, dude.
That was my freshman year of college. I remember watching with my brother, Sean McGinn, shout out to him. And we were in the lobby of my freshman dorm. And I just flipped over the couch and sprinted out of the place, dude. I was losing my mind. People were probably like, yo, this guy's a lunatic. I am a lunatic, dude. I can't. I remember the joy that day that I was like, who does that, dude? He blocks him on one end. He comes, hits the game-winning three, similar to the three he hit against the Magic in 2009. Similar block, and then get the game winner that he did to the Timberwolves that year or the year before. Like, I mean, who does that stuff, man? And they end up beating, shout out to Oladipo. That was a fun Pacers squad. And then we freaking smoke the Raptors, LeBronto. And don't get me started on the Celtics series. That was one where, again, like the whole series, I was pretty confident they were going to beat Boston. When he went off, I believe it was game 3, or maybe it was I think it was game 2, actually, because I think it went buzzer beater, the preposterous third or fourth quarter where he just couldn't miss and he was just throwing up stuff. And the announcers, it's one of my favorite LeBron moments. I'm counting down the top 100 LeBron moments. Follow me, Hero Ball Media, if you're a LeBron fan. We're counting down the top 100 LeBron moments, but this is one that gets very underrated. The announcers are in awe of what they're watching, and you don't see that very often. And they literally are dumbfounded. They're like, what is happening right now? What is this guy? He's just throwing up ridiculous shot. Everything's going in. I'll take you to game 6 because it was 3-2. We were back in Cleveland. You almost knew it was going to happen. But as a LeBron fan, I could not wait to see what LeBron James did in game 6 and game 7 of that series. Dude, I could get emotional talking about this, bro. I was just at a loss for words. I still haven't found the words here almost a decade later, dude. What was he doing? And how, what was happening, bro? He couldn't miss. And then they come into game 7 in Boston. I would have bet anything in the world that they were gonna, that guy was not about to lose. He was a man on a mission during the playoffs, but he was very emotional. He was very, flexing his muscle. Go look at those back-to-back threes. He's losing his mind, screaming on the top of his lungs. The fact that he had already put together that type of resume, you were almost like, even if they go into the finals and don't do anything, this is the moment. Let's give this man his flowers today. Let's not wait to see what happens. And now we're obviously about to get into that, but...
Nope. We're going to get into the finals right now. How are you feeling going into it, Connor?
I thought the boys, 23 and and you and I thought they were up for it. You know what I mean? I was very confident going into game 1 of 2018 final. He was so dialed in that night. And again, we saw, 2 months or whatever it was at that point of this playoff run of slamming my chest, of slamming the ball when the game ends, of hitting the big 3 and, going nuts, right? He was so dialed in that night, and I'm getting the goosebumps just thinking about it. Every play, it was like he had an answer for them. And this is the thing I really like to say about 2018. I've been saying this, giving this analogy for years, and now I get to do it on KPTV, right? Dude, it was like when you see a street fight or something, right, on the interweb, and it's not like, sometimes you see one guy and he's running and he's just knocking everyone out, right? He knocks out 5 dudes. It was like seeing him go toe to toe, right? He weathers the storm. He gets cracked. He knocks one guy out. Then another guy comes in and sucker punches him. He cracks him. And then Draymond Green comes in from behind and tries to hold him up while Clay lights him up to the body. And he was knocking him down one by one, because when we tell his tale of that game, of game 1, it was not a Steph Curry 1 for 13 from 3 night. It was not a game where Klay Thompson was nowhere to be found. Not at all. Curry almost dropped 30. KD didn't shoot the ball well. He gave you 25. Draymond gave you a near triple-double. This was not like the Warriors showing up game 1 and laying an egg. This was one of the greatest teams in the history of basketball ever assembled, going in one man, going toe-to-toe with them. I think Kevin Love played well that night. He put up decent numbers. I think maybe JR, you had to bring him up, didn't you? I think maybe JR was in double figures as well. Other than that, again, it was like the fact that the ghost of George Hill, I like George Hill. he shouldn't have been playing 30 minutes in the final. I mean, I think he actually played over 30 minutes. JR was playing 40 minutes. The names that they were like relying on, these guys who would be like a contributor on like a fringe bubble team, right? Like these were the guys playing the entire game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But that's what the analogy I always like to give, right? Because it was not, you find teams have off nights. We saw last year with the Thunder, right? Like they would have a game where like Jay Will would lay an egg and like they would be terrible, right? That was not game one. That was going blow for blow for blow with all-star after all-star. And LeBron always answered the bell, and he did it. He was so locked in. And in the third, fourth quarter, it was like it kept getting up to 7. Like I think 7 was the lucky number. It was between 4 and 7 the entire time. And again, as a team like the Warriors, something I always say, and I've been watching basketball again my whole life, no one had firepower like that run of the Warriors. It gets out of hand fast. Like it's one thing to be, there's 2 minutes left in the third quarter and you're up by 2. You've been playing great basketball for, nearly 3/4 of the game, and then just bang, bang, bang. But like, it was like, these 15-2 runs would happen out of nowhere, right? So the whole time, again, even though I was confident, no one else, he wasn't getting any help. You kind of were waiting for like the Warriors to really pull away because we would get it to like a 1-point game, or we would take the lead and then they just kept stretching it. And now it's again a 6-point game. Now it's a 2-point game. Now it's an 8-point game. And you kind of, even into about 3 minutes left in the game, like that was the story of the whole second half. It was like they're about to pull away and then we get it back, and they're about to pull away. And by we, I mean LeBron. LeBron was just scoring and he couldn't miss. And, Mark Jackson, and I hit it out of the park with all due respect, right? One of the greatest clips of all time as LeBron's pulling up from midcourt and he's talking about Lord knows what. But as it got later into the game, you're like, all right, here we are, right? Like I have confidence. LeBron's going blow for blow with these guys. I got to find a better way to word that. But you kind of just kept waiting for the Warriors to give that kind of knockout punch, and it never came.
And it was blow for blow. Hey, yo, so much so that it came down to the free throws at the end of the game where a certain someone decided to give up the booty before the moment this episode is based on even happened.
And God, I'm waiting for this part of the show. George Hill does not catch enough fucking slander for this game. God, I'm here to vindicate J.R. Smith. I'm almost never in these episodes. This part staying in. J.R. Smith, and I'm here to defend you at least a little bit, because George Hill, if he never missed them free throws, J.R. Smith wouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
I'm with you 1,000,000%, dude. And George Hill, like, no one's more happy about the situation than George Hill, because when they tell the tale, it's the J.R. Smith game. It's the meme. It's the LeBron yelling at a meme. It's one of the worst moments in the history of organized basketball. And it was because an 80% free throw shooter. Bro, you remember his face stepping up to the line? I was like, holy smokes, dude. I do not like this.
He looked like he saw a ghost.
Dude, yes. That is honestly a better meme than the LeBron react. No, it's not, because that's like the greatest of all time. But dude, the George Hill getting ready to shoot the free. It was like he was waiting for like something else. Or he's like, can I sub someone in or something? Like, he was so not ready, but he hits the first free throw and you're like, okay, cool. And you're already thinking like, okay, Steph Curry for the win. Who gets the last shot? The day Kevin Durant signed on the dotted line, the first question is, there's one basketball, right? Who's getting the last shot? I mean, Stephen A made a living just talking about that, right? That's what you're thinking going into that shot.
Yeah, that's what we were all thinking at the time. With the exception of J.R. Smith, who happened to not be thinking at all in that moment. Let's get to it, shall we? We know what we're all here for.
I'm really having a hard time containing my emotions here, obviously, but I think he got the rebound over KD. Like, another thing when we tell the tale, J.R. Smith got an offense. Like, how is that even possible? But he gets the board. I might just start crying right now, dude. When you watch the clip back, dude, and every LeBron fan knows this goes hand in hand with 2016 Game 7 when he nearly posterized Draymond to finish it. That's like the one. But the real one is that he was wide open at the top of the key. He had just played the greatest game of basketball, he had done basketball at a higher level than I think anyone's ever done anything in the history of time. And he was wide open at the top of the key. And I know for a second, like, you didn't know what was happening, right? Because such a bizarre sequence. You didn't know what he was doing. And then before you could even gather your thoughts, the whistle blows and it's going into overtime. And I just, like, you're feeling very confused. Like, I still haven't found the words, man. Like, I had no idea what I just watched. And the announcer, everyone was confused. You're like, did he not know the score? And I think they instantly say, like, I think J.R. Smith thought the team was up. And seeing LeBron, oh, dude, he was so defeated. And this is another thing, man, when we get into these talks about LeBron, I know we'll get into the end of this game, but, like, he played terrible in overtime. He didn't have it. Like, if you watch the defeat on his face, that's like one of the cool things about sports. A lot of times we forget that these are like human beings, right? They have them, like, dude, the defeat on his face looking at J.R. Smith. I get it. I could cry right now. Like, he was so defeated. And then they go over to the bench. And there's like an uncut version of like the 3 minutes in between regulation and of them and overtime of him sitting on the bench. The game was over. Like, it was going into overtime. They had another 5 minutes. The game was over, dude. The fact to not know, and I'm a huge J.R. Smith guy. The Nuggets back in the day with AI and Melo, that was always my second favorite team to wherever LeBron was playing basketball at. He goes on to the Knicks. Those were some super fun teams with Melo, with Novak, with Stoudemire. I was always and J.R. Smith helped them get it done in 2016. He played a huge role. And going in those playoff runs, I know now I'm saying in a joking way, I was like, dude, we got some guys ready to go to war. Give me Korver and J.R. Smith and Kevin Love, like, and let's party. Let's see who comes out the other side, you know? So, like, and you know what? That was supposed to be me tipping the cap. He got the rebound, you know? So, like, I'm always the bigger man, right? And I try to say, you know, he gets the rebound. But I actually recently, there's just compilations of J.R. Smith doing insane things on stuff that should never be done on a basketball court. There's like a very long, when you're looking at, like, you know, any stupidity compilation of things that happen on a basketball court, it's almost half the time it's J.R. Smith doing insane things. How does that even happen? How do you not know the score? It was the NBA Finals, and he's it's all strategic, right? Who goes where? It's not like where, like, people just walk up and be like, oh, I'm going to get the rebound here, right? He was there for a reason. Everyone's in a place for a reason. How do you not know the score? How do you not know the score? Like, oh, you're freaking opening up a Pandora's box here, dude. I'm re-feeling. It's like I'm back on that day, dude. That's the really tough part, though. You watch the angle, and it's like, even if he didn't know the score, you have, you know, the glorious king at the top of the key screaming for the ball for a perfect three to end the game. Oh my gosh. Oh, dude, what was he doing? Like, and then after he they were like, ask him, and he's like, yeah, I knew the score. And they're like, well, what were you doing? And he's like, you guys won't get it. It's like, all right, dude, I get we're not going to take ownership of it, but, like, oh, man. And then LeBron, talk about great memes, dude. LeBron getting up from the press conference with a briefcase and a suit with shorts for some reason. He's very cool, but he's just like, do better tomorrow. Like, because the guy just he's like, you think JR knew the score? He's like, I don't know. He's like, yeah, but do you think he knew the score? And he's like, oh, you'd have to ask that. He's like, okay. But, like, did you think that, what about the score? Do you think JR knew it? And he just gets up and walks out. But the series ended, the game ended right there, but the series ended right there. And I think what a Herculean effort from LeBron James to come into the finals. As I said, dude, if even if they, not to say if they lost Game 7 in Boston, but just making it to the finals was such an unbelievable accomplishment. And if they get swept, I guess they did get swept. But if no competitive games, if LeBron, doesn't really play that well in the finals, just getting there is such an accomplishment in itself. The fact that he coming off, again, he had 740 balls coming into that game, multiple game winner. Again, I've just went over it a million times, and then he just reached a new level, and seeing him do it with a straight face. I mean, he's Batman, dude. He's Superman and everything in between. In this series, he was Robin too. And the fact that he went blow for blow with them, with Kevin Durant, with Curry, with everyone coming on that night. Oh, I got to really work on my phrasing here. I sound like a nutcase. After that game, LeBron got a lot of hate because he did not play well in overtime. And people were saying, yeah, he played great, maybe the best game of his career, but he didn't show up in overtime. And it just kind of completely changed, it kind of opened my eyes to how dumb some people are, first of all, but what are we watching sports for? How do you could be the biggest LeBron hater, if that's your thing, great. How do you watch that game and your takeaway after that moment, one of the craziest moments in sports, and you're like, yeah, LeBron didn't show up in overtime? What, dude? What are you talking about? How is that your interpretation of what just happened, of the 48 minutes of basketball you saw? And then you're like, classic LeBron didn't show up when it counts. Let his emotions get the best of him. Dude, I'm getting so worked up. I'm having a hard time making coherent sentences right now, dude. Thanks for freaking walking me through this.
No, Connor, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you to J.R. Smith for inspiring this episode and countless amazing memes. And thank you to you in particular, for watching this far into the video. Leave a comment so I know to say thank you personally. But a question I've been wondering for almost a decade now: if this JR play never happened, would LeBron have left Cleveland for LA? Post-credit scene, go.
I don't know. It's an interesting question going back to would he have left? I think he would have left, but I don't know. It's crazy to look back on this Lakers run. Obviously, he did get it done once, but it just feels a little stale here as we go into year 23. Obviously, we got Luka now. I mean, you're kind of excited about, last year. I don't know. My guy Luka's got to freaking lay off the cheeseburgers. It seems like he has, but I don't know. This Lakers run, it's always been like a piece is missing. And it's he shouldn't have had to carry this team the way he's had into it, year as a 38, 39-year-old, still not just putting up the numbers he has, which again is insane, but the minutes, everything that they're running the offense through him. It's just so strange. And you wonder, maybe he would have more left in the tank today if they constructed these rosters differently, if they didn't rely so heavily on him to, be the guy to run the offense and the defense through him. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know, man. I could go on and on about this, but the Lakers run, I don't really know how I feel about it. I feel like we are kind of leaving. It's crazy to say with the career that he's had that we're leaving anything on the bone, but with the level that he's maintained these, now it's been 7 years he's been in LA, which is crazy.
He's been a Laker longer than he's ever been with any other team.
Dude, that's what I was going to say.
Which is insane, bro.
Isn't that crazy? You think of him as he went there to retire. He went there to make movies, which he got robbed of the Oscar for Space Jam. So, that was partially correct.
That might be the biggest LeBron stan thing you have said during this entire hour.
What was that?
That might be the biggest LeBron stan thing you've said during this entire hour, that he should have got an Oscar for Space Jam. That might be the biggest, might be the number one statement.